edition, actually a special edition of the Dirty Verdict podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Peter Taaffe.
I am your second host, full-time litigator, and very spooky participant, Kyle Herbert.
And third co-host, full-time litigator, Bill Ogden.
We have a ton of guests.
We do.
All right, so this is going to be volume one of our Halloween editions. We're going to have two special. Of course, I'm dressed as Napoleon Dynamite. Kyle is a weird bunny.
He's a furry.
Which is what he wears every other Tuesday. It happens to be when we recorded that. Yeah. Worked out good.
We don't kink shame.
And no kink shaming unless kink shaming is your kink.
Exactly.
Is that right, Bill?
Exactly.
And speaking of Australian breakdancing kink, Bill, who are you dressed as?
I am Ray Gunn, the Australian Olympian breakdancer who now took breakdancing away from the Olympics. It's no longer an Olympic event.
To be fair, a completely noble pursuit. If you can't win an Olympic sport, make it so no one ever can compete in it again.
You sound like an Australian.
Good day. All right, and we have like 75 guests.
So over the course of the year, we've had awesome dress. I think last year, our first edition of this was the Thiessens.
Yes, Team Thiessen.
Yeah, so Tally and Mark are here in new and different costumes to come back for a second year. So tell us who you guys are dressed up as.
Who were you last year?
I was a 70s
disco lady with the giant
girl.
afro?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was Cobra Kai. And now I am Macho Man Marky Thiessen.
Yes.
And I am Hulk Hogan.
I question, Mark, is Randy Macho Man Savage still alive? Is he still with us?
He's not, brother. Yeah, God rest his soul. Yeah, he had a bad heart.
But of course, we know the Hulkster is still live and kicking and suing people for defamation and winning.
Yeah, he bankrupted
with the backer.
With the backing of Peter Thiel.
And we've got reprising his role from Friday the 13th. We've got
Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah, Michael Myers.
My God, you're so spooky. Michael
Myers.
So
you just called him.
The island attorney Mark Metzger has joined us, and he's currently staring at me. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, you are missing out. You need to watch this on YouTube because it's absolutely
Kyle's blushing.
Absolutely horrifying.
You can't look at him.
Yeah. Any more of this, and Kyle's gonna start tingling in his places of sin.
Can you get a joint shot of that?
Don't make me stumble.
Josh, I don't know if you can. Get both.
Good thing you called out the no kink shaming early.
Yeah, I get
the tongue comes out.
And last but certainly not least, we have
Justice of the Place 5, 14th Court of Appeals here in Houston, Frances Bourliot.
Yes,
Are we pronouncing that right?
you did.
Yes.
The Cajun version is Bourliot,
Yes.
but it's Bourliot when you're addressing her in the court as Justice Bourliot. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for joining us.
And what are you dressed as?
Belle, the princess.
Okay, so you've got a tiara, yellow bell dress from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
Have you met Mark Metzger?
Yes.
Okay. But kind of a camo look.
Gotta stop doing that.
Oh, that was cold coming in?
Oh, you were just cold. Okay.
Yeah.
There wasn't more to the costume. Okay. Because I can't see you from here down. It's like you blend into the background.
I do.
Okay.
And
Like a green screen.
Exactly right.
is anything bothering you in the room? Anything that is...
That little horn is a little bit...
Flaccid?
Yeah.
Mine?
Look, this horn actually goes south after 4 hours. So you've gotta take another pill.
All right,
Tell us more about yourself, Justice Bourliot.
Yeah.
So, Justice Bourliot, you are running for a bench, and we wanted to have you on for a long time, and it just so happens you got trapped in our Halloween nightmare situation.
Okay.
But you were such a great sport to come dressed up. Give us your campaign pitch.
My campaign pitch?
Yeah, give it to us.
Well, I'm running for re-election. I was elected in 2018. I was the first former public defender and elected to the 14th court. I'm actually the first Asian American woman elected to any appellate court in the state of Texas, which is kind of mind-blowing because we cover 10 counties. We cover Austin, Brazoria, Chambers, Colorado, Galveston, Grimes, Harris, Fort Bend, Washington, and Waller counties.
Wow.
So we cover 2 of the most diverse counties we have in the country, and to have been the first Asian American in Texas, I was very honored, but it was also very shocking to me. So I'm running for re-election because I've really enjoyed my time on the bench. I think it's been very eye-opening. We've brought a lot of balance, and we've done good work on the bench, and it's a great job. I mean, it's a very quiet, very solitary job, but it's a great job. It was a big change from going from the CJC to going to the Appellate Court.
What's the CJC?
The Criminal Justice Center.
Were you a criminal?
Yes, I was. I was a criminal for most of my adult life.
Breaking the law.
I was a public defender for most of my career.
Okay. What made you, I don't know a lot of people that grew up saying, I want to be an intermediate level appellate court justice. What appealed? What about that job?
Appealed, nice pun.
What appealed to you about that job that made you, because it's a huge investment of time, effort, and money to get this job. Why did you want it?
So I was just a law nerd. I was a research and writing law nerd. When I graduated from law school, I actually got a fellowship and I did death penalty work. So I had a fellowship. Sorry, my glass. I had a fellowship and I did federal and state death penalty appeals for 3 or 4 years before I started the PDO. And I was hired in the appellate division and really loved it. The public defender's office opened in 2011. It was the largest county in the country without a public defender's office.
Harris?
Opened. Yes. And so we were the first group that got hired on. It was appellate and misdemeanor mental health. They threw me into trial, a couple years into my tenure there. I have a specialty in mitigation and mental health. So I did a lot of work sitting.
That'll come in a lot of use shortly. When you get
It is the mental health training is probably the most practical aspect of my training. It's very useful in dealing with judges and people. Bill.
Yeah.
Hey, catching strays over here.
Maybe you give us some pointers at the end. So, but your job as an appellate justice is you do civil and criminal and everything, right?
Yes, we are a court of general jurisdiction. So we hear civil, criminal, juvenile, probate, family. One of my first cases on the bench was a municipal tow case where the man represented himself pro se.
Wow.
He was arguing that his car had gotten towed illegally, and we actually agreed with him.
Wow.
He won at the Court of Appeals.
I thought I was going with different type of toe.
It was fine, actually.
And so you liked this job so much, you want to keep it.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's a great place to be. It's a great.
You guys have a beautiful courthouse.
It is the most beautiful courthouse. If you've come from the CJC particularly,
Yeah.
our elevators work. We have this beautiful stained glass ceiling. It's a historic building. It's the 1910 courthouse. When they redid the inside, they actually got marble from the original part of the quarry that it was built. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. We have a lot of weddings in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, we have a lot of tours that come through.
I have brought a tour of children through y'all's court.
You've got to stop saying it like
Were
that,
you
though.
wearing this?
No, I was dressed in a suit and a tie. But Justice Kelly was kind enough to give us a tour of the 1910 courthouse, and taking a bunch of 8 and 9-year-olds was pretty hilarious. They were like, "Will you put us in jail?" And we of course were like, 100% you're going to jail. Everybody here this is a sting, actually.
Scared straight.
Scared straight.
So just kind of for the non-lawyers out there, Kyle referenced this. We've got district courts, which hear the trials if you watch TV, the criminal, which these folks all do, and the civil, which my colleagues do on the podcast. And then after that, there's appellate courts. And then there's the Supreme Court on top of that. So you guys, how does that work? Case comes, someone doesn't like the outcome. How does it get to you?
So the losing party in a lawsuit usually files. So the interesting thing about our court is the 1st and the 14th cover the same 10 counties. And we have we cover the same sorts of cases. So they actually just kind of flop. They go back and forth, assigning cases to the 1st and the 14th. But we're sister courts, so we don't actually have to follow each other, although we do most of the time.
As far as legal precedent, if
Yes.
your colleague goes.
Yes.
If there's a tie and a split, how do you guys resolve that? Is it like a softball game?
We duel.
A staring contest?
We have a duel in the middle of the courthouse.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I would
And or a costume contest.
With the floppy.
dance off.
Yeah, that's right.
The sad.
My shame.
So I always wonder that why do we have a 1st and 14th covering the same counties where everywhere else in the state just has one?
There's too many people. It's just too big of an area, and having 18 judges on a court would be really unmanageable. Having 9 judges on a court is actually pretty difficult sometimes, and having 18. There was some talk, I think, for a while of combining the 1st and the 14th and making an 18-judge court, and I cannot even imagine what that would be like.
It's basically like the Royal Rumble. 18 judges get in, only one survives. That person loses.
Who do you think's got a stronger court, the 1st or the 14th?
14th,
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. I was about to say that.
Yeah.
It's the friendly 1st and the fighting 14th, as far as I'm concerned.
We're on the south side of the building. So
South
I like
side's
to say
rough.
that we're South
South
Korea.
side is hardcore.
South Korea, yeah, and they're
I
North
call
Korea.
us South Korea.
Yeah.
So.
And then so again, this is kind of inside baseball stuff, but you have 9 on your, you've got 9 on your court,
Yes.
but if it's an appeal, aren't there like 3 judges that will actually rule on the kind of first level?
So we sit in panels of 3, and they rotate. They rotate our panels every quarter. And any cases that go en banc, or any case that you ask to go en banc, goes to the full 9-judge panel.
And what is en banc? What does that mean?
When all 9 of us hear it.
And we can ask for that?
Yes.
But you have a right to get a ruling from the 3-judge panel, but you don't necessarily have a right to get en banc. Like
Correct.
that could be denied and just.
So usually what happens is that the losing party at the appellate court level then files a motion for rehearing, and they will usually ask for a panel rehearing for the same 3 judges and just say, hey, we think you got it wrong. And then they'll ask also for an en banc rehearing for the whole 9 judges. And there are some pretty specific reasons why we hear something en banc, and it's usually because either there's like a circuit split or, if there's kind of a dichotomy in what our court is doing. Those are kind of some instances in when we hear en banc cases.
Who's your favorite justice to be on a panel with? And who's your least favorite justice to be on a panel with? Name names.
Name names. You want me to name names?
Yep.
Only if you want to be funny about it.
My favorite justice to be on a panel with, I think it depends. Megan Hassan and I are good friends. She was a civil rights lawyer and did a little bit of criminal defense work before she came on the bench. And she's also, she did a lot of qualified immunity. We have some very spirited conversations, so I enjoy it. She's also my neighbor in the office. Not my home neighbor, but
yeah.
my office neighbor. So it is kind of fun to have cases with her because we can just kind of yell back and forth.
And how many cases do y'all grant oral argument on like percentage-wise?
It's so hard to take you serious, though. You know that, right?
Sure.
I like the hair.
I know,
like
but it's
it.
just-
it's
he's like-
that ringlet in the middle.
It's just like a legal question.
Thiesen's already criticized my wig, and I totally get it. But because they're professionals, and
I just want to know where you store that thing.
oh yeah,
No.
it was in the costume shop up until yesterday. Before that, it was somewhere in China.
He keeps it hermetically sealed, so
Yeah.
whatever is growing on it stays there.
I just think that costume shop did you dirty. Like,
I'm
I can't
sorry.
believe they sold that thing like that.
It was the
it.
pop up in the Barton Creek Mall in Austin, and so they don't. I mean, you guys are professionals.
Yes.
We're amateurs over here.
We're just
Doing our best.
barely scraping by. Also, our budget is
It's the way Kyle looks at it.
our budget is so low for this. Anything we spend money on, it's don't touch me, Mark. Anything you're gonna make my horn flop again.
No, he's gonna make it go straight up.
His horn has been flopping.
Everything we spend money on, we have to borrow from Bill. So it's a very small budget. I've had the same uniform for like 5 years, which is why you're still making jokes about it all these years later.
Yeah. So what percentage roughly of oral or cases y'all have oral argument on?
And does it make any difference?
It does sometimes. I actually don't know that I could give you a specific percentage. I will say that sometimes the decision to grant or not grant oral argument, so in the 14th, it's made a little bit earlier. And so sometimes when you get into a case, you realize that actually oral argument would have helped. Something I would tell practitioners is if you get submitted on the briefs, if we deny oral argument, this is really cute.
Love is love, you two.
I would need to know
Take
this.
a moment. And if we
He's
deny
like
oral
really
argument
intense.
on the briefs, just file a motion for reconsideration and just ask us again. And if you're like, hey, we really want you to hear it on oral argument, I, for one,
You're
have
down.
granted it 100% of the time. Because if you've cared enough about it to ask us again, then sure, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. We grant oral argument when people need it for board certification, and they put that in. We'll let them do it. It sometimes depends. A lot of lawyers, they always think that this is like a novel application of the law to the facts. And sometimes it is. And sometimes the way the brief is presented doesn't necessarily convey that. And so if they ask us again.
So if you're like a really crappy writer, not naming any names, Bill, I'm just saying, then you might want to ask the opportunity to clarify your points.
Only if he breakdances.
Well,
Yeah.
That's how I start every oral argument.
Yeah.
do you have to reserve time for that,
Since I
or
was
is that
4.
part of your initial?
I feel like we would just give that to him.
Is there a particular oral argument that you've seen go so terribly, terribly wrong that you think you would have been better had you never opened your mouth?
Not necessarily. I think sometimes the biggest problem I see sometimes is when trial lawyers that are just like through and through trial lawyers
Yeah.
will come and do oral argument, and it's a very different thing, right? Because it's not an emotional thing. You're not.
It's
talking
not
to a
12
jury.
strangers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're talking to 3 judges, and we want to know about the law. We want to know how the law applies to the facts. And so I have seen some trial lawyers do it really well, and then I've seen some others definitely give us jury arguments.
And I was going to ask the 3 here, have any of y'all done an oral argument at the appellate level before?
I'm going to tell you my experience with the Court of Appeals.
Okay.
I've lost every single appeal that I've ever written, so I tried not to write anymore. I always request oral argument, have never gotten it. And that's my experience. So now I try just not to lose at the trial court level, and then I don't have to worry about appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you like when they put like catchy quotes at the beginning and then start their argument, or is that
No, it depends.
like do like a Ted Lasso quote or something?
Like 16 Candles?
Yeah.
Like when you're reading a real serious case, like a real
Yeah.
heart-wrenching set of facts, and you open with kind of a lighthearted quote, it kind of sometimes is off-putting. You just have to know when to use it, right?
Okay.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Let me tell you about this death penalty.
What's the most original way you've ever seen anybody open an oral argument? Any
An oral
songs or quotes or?
No, so appellate court is so rigid that they always
for us.
start as the same way. I mean, we have a specific order that we walk out and sit on the bench. It's
Oh, you mean the brief?
Like when you get up, are you allowed to be like, let me preface it with saying, and like maybe do like a little, this reminds me of my favorite song, and do like a little melody to put them
that's
at ease?
never happened. You should do it though.
I was about to say, you
I
remember
would
the
enjoy that.
anecdote where
Yeah.
she said trial lawyers don't make good appellate lawyers? I am thinking this was directed right at Mark Thiessen.
Yeah.
Because he wants to start
Yeah.
off with a song.
I want
Get you all
to.
comfortable.
I want
with
to
the melody?
see Thiessen, Ogden, AppellateLawyers.com.
I think you
That's
should
gonna
sing
take
and
off.
then you should dance.
It's a lot of Broadway.
I think it would be really good.
It'd be like
jazz?
the Book of Mormon on Broadway, the original Broadway cast.
Wouldn't you appreciate a little, action instead of, you already know the law, like you've already kind of read the
Absolutely, you
briefs.
should do it.
Like now we can put in a little flair and then you could either get us credit or not credit.
I think that appellate practice as a whole is so, I don't want to say rigid, but it's very like old school, right? Like they all start the appellate arguments the same way. Like, may it please the court, my name is Frances Bourliot and I represent the appellant in this case. And they kind of go through, what their points are. They outline their argument.
And nobody's broken away from how you did it in law school. Nobody's like, nobody wants to hear that, man. The real judges. She's cool. She's a public defender. She wants to hear a little bit of
A little
pizzazz.
flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us the juicy talkie.
Yeah, maybe some Diddy lyrics.
I think that
Yeah.
that's the way it's always been. Should be
no,
changed.
Oh no, I'm sorry, no. No, we're saying no.
But I think by the time you've gotten there and you've printed so many briefs in a certain way, in a certain font, and you've done it a certain way, like you're not just gonna, you're not just gonna stand up and just go for
What's
it.
the deal? You guys like?
Not with
you give
that
us,
attitude.
Is it like 9 minutes or something? How much time?
It's 15 total per side. You can ask for more if you.
But and does that include your rebuttal?
Yes.
So I was in there once, and they were like, "How much time do you need?" And I was like, "I said 3 minutes." And they said, "How much time do you want for?" I was like, "There's no way I could have lost this appeal." It was impossible for me to lose. I go 3 minutes, and they were like, how much rebuttal time? And I was like, none. And then whoever was the panel chair was like, are you sure? And I was like, 30 seconds. And they were like, okay. And I stuck to it. 3 minutes, 30 seconds.
I was about to say.
The other side used 10 minutes and then 5, and as predicted, we won. But when I said no time, the panel chair was like,
Ballsy.
you sure you want to go with no time?
I appreciate your confidence.
Yeah,
There we go.
it was great.
Question for Mark Metzger. Have you ever argued an appeal, and you can just nod yes or no?
Kyle didn't jump. He was
I don't want to
sneezing.
sit here anymore.
That I had Kyle, but it's like, you don't have to be faster than the Michael Myers. You just have to be faster than Kyle.
Yeah,
faster
you don't
than
have to
Kyle.
outrun the bear. You just got to outrun the slowest
That's
person.
right. And Michael, we didn't say Mark has a very viral video of him walking down the beach dressed this way. What was it, during a hurricane?
As the hurricane was on its way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he got arrested.
Yeah. Criminal. Not
Yeah.
just a criminal lawyer.
So-
Criminal.
So if anyone would like to hear more about that story,
Alleged.
check out Mark's long interview with us a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Yes, to your point, when I've gone to watch, I've never argued one, but I've had cases that we tried and that we had smart appellate lawyers handling. That is so intense. I mean, that light comes on, and those practitioners are. I mean, that is intense. 15 minutes. It's like a boxing match or something.
Debate versus acting, right? It's more the debate guys.
Kind of, but you don't want the traditional
Ladies
debate.
go.
You know how sometimes they talk super fast? Yeah, that's totally, it's 100%.
Not the judges.
It's so nerdy.
Not the judges, the
Hey,
appellate
no, it's
lawyers.
super nerdy. We sit in an office all day. Like, my son is in high school, and he has friends who want to be a lawyer. Like, they want to be lawyers, and they're like, "Can we come watch you at work?" I'm like, sure. I sit at a desk and look at a computer all day.
That would be so cool if you brought them in and were like, just sit over there. And then you just
All
typed
day.
on your computer
all day. Didn't even acknowledge they were there. Just
Just look at it and go, shh, go get me coffee, intern.
That's basically
Pledge.
all we do is we just type all day.
I'm not going to flunk you. I'm
Research.
giving you an incomplete.
Do you have a briefing attorney?
I was about
I
to
have
say things
two
like
staff attorneys.
Staff attorney.
Are they awesome?
I adore them. They are amazing.
Do you get to pick your own?
So I kept the two that were when I won
You
in
inherited?
18. I kept the two, and then one of them moved for a job to Dallas. So I hired my junior staff attorney who just had a baby like a week and a half ago.
Which one's your favorite?
I like them both for different reasons.
Junior staff attorney's the favorite.
A couple months ago,
Appellate of you.
I was cleaning out my office, and I came across like the blue book and the green book.
Oh, God.
And I took them and I laughed out loud. I was like, how did you two make it this far? Because they had never been used. And I threw them away. It was a very liberating experience for me.
Justice, 2 spaces after a period or one?
One space.
Yeah.
If
And
you
I'm
see
an
2,
Oxford
do you,
comma.
One space?
One space after a period, and I like the Oxford comma.
and so
It's
when you
actually one of the first things we talked about in my chambers when I was elected.
so when you see 2, which is what I do, you say, "Okay, boomer." Is that
Pretty
kind
much.
of
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And like if we screw up the citation, you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or guy or girl doesn't know it. Really?
No.
Okay.
You look at citations, are you really a stickler?
I do. I check citations, but I mainly check citations to see if the case actually says what you're saying it says. Sometimes you get this little snippet, and I'm like, that is way too on point, and I want to read it.
Who caught the AI appeal? Wasn't that in the 1st or 14th that the guy did the AI? He ran the appeal through AI and it just made up
The
sites.
partner had to stand there and defend it.
Yeah, that he made up
Got
sites.
caught.
The AI made up the sites. Yeah,
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was ours.
it was in College Station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I only
That's
do.
not ours.
Oh, okay. How do you know that somebody didn't write it on AI and that the site is real? Do you shepherdize each
Just
site?
actually look them up.
I usually read them, and our staff attorneys do a lot of times too. And then, it's, how when you're like a young lawyer in law school and they tell you reputation is everything, right? Like your reputation is everything. If you get a reputation for conveniently citing cases, I think that sticks with you too.
Hear that, Mark? Reputation means everything.
Yeah, Mark.
Conveniently citing. What does that mean?
When like the ellipses is just the right place and I go look up the case and it does not say what you're saying it says.
When you're really liberal with your
Yeah.
cherry picking.
That's why.
When it says the court decided the light was green except for when it's red, but they only give you the green.
Yep.
Yes.
So we want to talk about some more general stuff with the whole group. But before we take the spotlight off you, you're involved in a race for this bench.
Yes, I am currently running for re-election.
Tell us quickly, who's your opponent? What sets you apart? Why are you the best person for this bench?
Well, I have a Republican opponent. She has never done any appeals. She was a prosecutor and was a trial judge. She was appointed by Abbott to the trial court bench and lost in 22.
Jim Abbott?
Yes,
What
player.
trial court bench was she on? What county?
in Harris County.
Ambidextrous.
So what's her name?
Maritza Antu.
Okay.
But she's never done an appeal before. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the main things. When we did our Chronicle endorsement interview, that's one of the ones where you come in with your opponent, and they asked her why she was running against me, and she actually, didn't have anything bad to say about any of the opinions I've written. She actually complimented one of the opinions I had written and told the Chronicle what a great opinion it was. So,
You think you could take her in a foot race? That's how I vote.
probably. I could definitely beat her in a breakdancing contest.
Hey, even better.
You could definitely beat Bill in a breakdancing contest.
I don't know. Give me a couple more tequilas.
So what would you say? Because really, I don't think judicial elections should be partisan because
I
it's just
agree.
too hard.
Well,
But
at
what do
least
you
at the appellate and Supreme Court level, for sure.
So what do you say though when someone goes, "Oh, this person's soft on crime," or whatever? This person likes this side or the other. I mean, what is your response to that when you hear that in forums and interviews?
So that's been a really big thing in the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of ads coming out calling all the Democratic judges soft on crime. And at our level, that just doesn't really exist because we are not setting bails, right? We're not the ones in the trial courts making those decisions. We are just reviewing what the trial court does. And the best I can see it is that their version of calling us soft on crime really just means that we are ensuring that individuals are receiving their due process and that their rights are being protected. And I don't think that makes me soft on crime, right? Actually, I think that if you tell people that you're a tough on crime judge, that is indicating a bias. It's indicating that you are going to look at cases and, like when we're picking juries, right? And you have the people who automatically think he's guilty because he's been indicted, and that's not the sort of judge you want on the appellate court. Part of the reason why the appellate court is so interesting is everything is on paper. I don't know what the client looks like. I don't know what the lawyers look like. I don't know anything about the case. I'm not seeing, it's not live, right? So we're very impartial the way it comes to us. I mean, it's not literally on paper anymore, it's all on the computer, but it's just black and white. It's what's on the screen. And so the soft on crime thing kind of just makes me laugh because it's not our job. So I can't decide. I mean, they either fundamentally don't really understand what we do at the Court of Appeals, which could be possible if you haven't done a lot of appeals. Or, they're just kind of indicating a bias that they have.
I like if you're soft on crime, your response should just be like, all right, we'll change the law. Like, I'm just following it.
Says Bill, who's been soft on crime for forever.
I'm the softest. I'm like a Snuggie when it comes to crime.
What do you guys? You guys are criminal defense lawyers. I mean, what do y'all think when you hear that and you hear a certain political party being attacked on soft on crime? What is your take to your friends
Mark,
that are not?
take this one.
Yeah.
I can't take this seriously.
The sweat is dripping out of the inside of that mask.
Yeah.
Jesus God.
He's unmasked. You made it for like 30 minutes, so that's
All right,
yeah, you passed the test.
Well, let's break out the William Shatner. So, isn't it William Shatner's face inside out?
Yes,
So-
that's right.
All right, there we go.
Is that really the case? They did the mask or
Yeah,
something?
Michael Myers is the bust of William Shatner's face inside out.
I did not know that.
And I learned that from Tom Araya, the lead singer of Slayer.
I'd love to guess that.
Fun fact. So,
I'm a big kiss.
question again?
Yeah, what do you guys say as criminal defense lawyers when in the political heat, attacks are made on judges as being soft on crime just purely because of whatever political party they may be in?
Well, like everyone here, I don't think it should be partisan. Republican, Democrat shouldn't, decide who sits on the bench and who doesn't sit on the bench. We've lost a lot of great judges recently due to partisan politics, and we've also elected in people who have no business sitting on a bench solely because they put their name on a ballot. Because you had a one-side partisan, and that goes on both sides. So the soft on crime thing, like I said, it's if a judge is doing their job, Republican or Democrat, their job is to follow the law. When they set bail, there's a strict, rigid rubric that they need to follow when they're setting that bail. What type of offense is this? Prior criminal history. The number one thing, threat to public, threat to society. What even more important than that is their ability to make bail. Bail someone should not be imprisoned because of a financial, circumstance that doesn't allow them to make bail. And when you see a judge violating that rubric or violating their duty to follow the law or follow those standards to either set bail or to rule on a certain decision or not, whether in pretrial or trial proceedings, that's when you can make the determination soft on crime or tough on crime. But to just blast one side or the other with that blanket statement, it's very improper.
Yeah, particularly for everything you talked about as trial court, which is totally valid, but we're talking about the appellate court. Judge, you don't have anything to do with bail, right, at the appellate level?
They can file a writ to have us review a bail decision. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it is a matter of us telling the court, hey, you didn't actually look at the factors, so you need to look at the factors. But we don't set bail. We just review the decision.
And the second, what Judge said, she's absolutely correct. You can't be soft or tough on crime. If you were to say you were soft or tough on crime at the appellate level, you would have to have an entire circuit court, let's say, rule in favor of the state on every single case. Rule on the defense on every single case. To be able to make that statement, which obviously has never happened in the history of ever, I think, where we've just had one appellate court rule. Yeah. The state's bringing this appeal. Yep. Grant. Every time. That doesn't happen. No.
Unless Mark Thiessen is arguing it, and then apparently.
Little song and a dance. Let me tell you about the best thing the worst thing happened in my life.
Yeah. What do y'all for Tally and Mark?
I mean, I think that her response to that was perfect. Yep. I think that the number one thing that we have to remember is that these people have been accused of a crime, and we have got to protect their due process. We have got to protect their civil liberties. Being accused of a crime does not say in any way, shape, or form that you have committed this crime. And a lot of the people that scream that they are tough on crime, the moment that something happens to them, they expect all the privileges to come out and to be granted every privilege of not having to go through that process, not having to be booked into jail, not being done with that. And I think what it comes down to a lot of the time is just racism is what I'm going to say. And just people having bias against a certain group of people that they believe are out there committing crimes, but when it's them or somebody they know, automatically that's not how they want the process to go. And so what she said about making sure that we are protecting people's due process and protecting their civil liberties, I think is the age-old question, do you send one person innocent to jail, or do you let 100 go free? And we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I would like to I think she said it absolutely perfectly. At the appellate level, they're really just deciding on the law. They're not deciding the punishment and that this is too harsh. I am in the trenches with it right now, right? The only way, and I think it's laughable, I think it's a talking piece on the Republicans trying to sway and get a talking piece, but the only way we get judges that are really soft on crime is they would be delivering the verdicts, right? And so in these cases, the only time I can ever go to the judge is after a trial, right? But who's in charge of how many cases go to trial? Maybe 20%. Most of it is the DA's office giving us these deals. If we're getting good deals, it's because the DA's office is getting us these deals. If I want to go to a judge without a recommendation and allow the judge to sentence, the DA has to agree to allow me to go to that judge. So when they know the judge is super easy, they go, no, we're not allowing you. We're not allowing you to go without a rec. They know the judge is super hard. I'm like, I'm not going to that judge without a rec because I know that judge is going to, so then we end up in trial. And then most of the time, a lot of these heavy cases can only get probation from a jury, right? Or if for some reason, it's very rare that you go to a judge in a felony, you do go to a judge, the judge had the benefit of hearing all of the evidence, considers all of who they are, what they are, and everything. It is laughable that they're trying to blame the Democrat judges saying that they're soft on crime. No, the DA's office is soft on crime in Harris County. Hate to tell you that. We're getting sweetheart deals in Harris County, which don't change it. My clients love me. They think I walk on water. But we get soft deals in Harris County versus Montgomery County. The DA's office is horrible. They're harsh. They're hardcore, right? So it has nothing to do with the judges being soft on
We
crime.
had tried to get you some DA candidates to talk to today. Well, we were not 100% successful, but we are going to continue to try.
Yeah, to me, it's just Constitution, right? I mean, that's your top thing, right? I mean, if it's Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. Well, the Texas ones.
Bill's
too.
a sovereign
I'm saying I'm
citizen.
starting with.
Yeah, he's like, well, the U.S.
Well, I start at the U.S., right? I mean, that's everything that Tally was talking about, as far as everyone's right. So the Constitution is just like anything. If it helps me, I like it. And if it doesn't, then I don't, I want someone to make an exception to it that I want.
Oh, here
Same
goes
thing.
Pete on his conservative politics again.
No, it's the other way around.
You want to talk
It's
about
I'm down the middle
aware.
guy. I follow the Constitution, no exceptions, and you can't pick and choose what you like how you want to win. And I think that's probably what the justice is attempting to do and has done for the last 6 years, and hopefully another.
It's not just Republicans blanketing the Democrats as soft on crime. Our former guest Michelle Slaughter got it being soft on crime by her own party-ish, General Paxton, and yeah, so she's leaving the bench because of it.
And she's, by all accounts, super conservative.
Yeah, she's at the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. So I feel like there's another layer of.
when we talked to her for 2 hours, I did not get the sense that she was even a little bit soft on crime.
No, she's terrifying on crime.
I was really frightened that I had committed a felony just sitting there, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go.
Well, y'all know because she was in Galveston.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, she's district court.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about some cases?
Yeah.
Do we have time for that?
Yeah, we got.
It's a lot of Diddy stuff. By the way, I was right on Diddy on the baby oil. It came out.
Where did it come from?
They don't sell it at Costco?
They don't sell it at Costco, but they found large amounts of GHB in the baby oil.
I saw that.
Really?
And
Can that-
And I went down a rabbit hole like before we talked about it,
the skin, right?
and I came
Oh, I was
out.
like, why are they drinking the baby oil?
No, they're rubbing it on. They're rubbing it on.
Thiessen was like, I got a new idea for a party
really?
game. We're drinking baby.
Yeah.
Bill, I followed that, and I saw some reports that was not true. That was debunked.
We'll verify that. In my opinion, maybe that's what
Josh,
I
you're going to have to look that
I've
up.
also seen that too.
I don't even know where they get GHB, that we could try this out. I don't have
So
to.
funny.
I don't know where you
Like,
get
how do you
800
even-
bottles of baby
You
oil.
ask. I know a guy.
Is it transdermal? I have no idea.
That was my
How
next
dangerous would that be?
Apparently, Diddy had some transdermal baby oil at GHB. I don't know.
Okay, so we want to.
How do you regulate how much is how much? Like you just
Yeah.
bit or just like so.
Oh, you're like 2.5 bottles with that, buddy.
Yeah.
You're going head to toe, baby oil.
So we'll ask
Gotta
these
do a
guys.
Pump.
You want to go camping?
We'll ask these guys. So the story, the Diddy story, obviously, is he being prosecuted? He's been indicted. He's been held he's in jail, like no bond. What do we call it on Law and Order? He's been remanded, no bail. And then my former colleagues are filing civil lawsuits against him in New York and California. So question one, in y'all's experience, what do you think happens with the civil cases while the criminal action is pending?
They're going to wait. The civil case always wait to see what happens in the criminal case because they can't do anything. Like in the civil case, I'm like, you got to plead the fifth. Every time they try and bring in my client to go testify, I'm like, no, he's got the fifth. But once that criminal case is done, he can't plead the fifth anymore.
So I actually beat the criminal case once, and I got a verdict, and it was a massive verdict because my first witness was defendant. I took the stand, pled the fifth over and over because on the civil side, I can use that against him. It's not, we don't pretend like it didn't happen. And so he just. And
that was your big case.
Yeah, and you
right?
can't blanket assert it. It's every single answer to a question.
And if you know they're going to plead the fifth,
you
just keep asking the question worse and worse. Were you drinking that day? Yeah. Did you drink everything you possibly could? Yeah. Do you love to drink all day long? Yeah. Were you looking at child pornography before you started drinking? Uh-huh. They just keep pleading the fifth, and you just keep making the question more and more terribly ridiculous.
100%. That's what I did.
I have not had one case, and I haven't had one civil case beat us to trial.
So the only reason I got to do it was so Harvey and COVID, boom, boom. So we were already way behind, and so it was right when we started coming out in 21, and right before my status conference every 6 months because we were stayed. I pulled the docket, and Chip Lewis had just filed his third continuance, kicking it down the line. And I'm like, Judge, it's the defendant's lawyers on the criminal side that are doing this. Our Seventh Amendment are now violated. And Justice Bourliot was like, I agree. I was like, oh. So we tried it. So we got a verdict in the civil case 31 days before the criminal case started.
Then did the Court of Appeals take that away from you?
No, a district court judge that we won't talk about took some of that away from us.
Okay.
Can't win them all.
Mark Metzger, what are your thoughts on this P. Diddy criminal civil? Have you looked at it at all?
To be honest, I haven't looked much at it. I've seen what Tony Busby has posted on his social medias about defending the victims of the case, the alleged victims in the case, and kind of his press releases on that. Outside of that, I haven't really followed too much on.
Have you represented a client in criminal context that was also being sued in a civil case, and how that?
I've got several right now. They're usually low-level DWI cases, and they're being sued for personal injury, things like that, and that's concurrent going on, and it's the same thing. Plead the fifth. The insurance companies, and I actually learned this from Mark. I used to work for it, and it's kind of weird me talking about this in front of him because I've learned everything from him. But yeah, when the insurance companies, talk to our clients, whether even before the trial, everything's like, don't talk about alcohol, plead the fifth if you can, things like that. And, like Mark, I haven't had a civil case meet us, but we've had them after the criminal cases, and I don't know what the outcomes of those were, but, our criminal cases were always not guilties or dismissals. So.
You want me to tell you the secret?
Yes.
I'll tell you all the secret. All right, so say I got a...
This is a life moment. If Mark Thiessen ever looks you in the eye and says,
You want me to tell you the secret?
you want to hear the secret?
I was about to say, first, there are no secrets with Mark Thiessen. He is the worst secret keeper on the planet.
We have some secrets, I guarantee you and
Mark,
no one else.
Mark, what am I getting for
So
Christmas?
say your client's facing prison, right? Never been in trouble, he's facing prison, he's involved in a civil lawsuit. If you can get that DA to give us a sweetheart deal where he pleads guilty and avoids prison, we're probably going to take it unless we really didn't do it. And then once they take that deal, you can use, you pled guilty to this.
Yeah.
You used it all day long. But so many people are like, no, we want him to do prison. I'm like, why? Like, if he's never been arrested before or something, avoid prison, get him a guilty deal. It's only going to help your civil case down the road. But until that happens, it's like, no, I got to keep fighting. If the only offer is prison, we're going to trial. Yeah. And then here's the problem. What do I do in trial? I destroy your civil case.
Yeah, that's
right?
the
Because they're not protecting it. The DAs don't give a damn about that. And I'm just ripping up and getting people in bad testimony. It's like, no, I hate to the way is, and I reach out to the victims, the plaintiff's attorney, and I'm like, hey, is there anything we can do for the family? Just let us know.
Yeah. Every one of those cases is real fact specific. And
yep.
I've had cases where exact same situation where the cops just don't want to participate at all, right? Mm-hmm. And so they hear that there's this civil case going on, and they're like, well, I don't care.
Right.
And they burn your case down.
They do.
And then I've had other cases where the cops are like, oh, yeah, like, whatever I can do to help you with your civil case. And you kind of got to play this game and gauge it. Also, there's a lot of investigative stuff that I don't get as a civil lawyer until the case is resolved. And I've actually sat on cases where I was reasonably confident what was going to happen, just so I could get all the stuff that was in the investigator's file that I knew I couldn't get until that was over. But it's fun to play that game.
Like, we just recently, it's a intox manslaughter insurance defense company that represents my clients calling me, and they're like, we'll help you with your experts. We want to be a consulting attorney. Okay. So then you're a consulting attorney. I'm allowed to share evidence with you because we're consulting attorneys. I can show you what the decedent's BAC was. I can show you all these I can share videos, and they're going into depositions already knowing the angles. And I'm like, here's my accident reconstructionist. And I'm like, we're going to use that accident reconstructionist too. Let us help you, and I'm like.
That's a pretty sophisticated defense lawyer.
Do you look at the plaintiff's lawyer before you start sharing? Because it could be me. I just want to make sure if I'm in the.
I always know, yeah. I do look. I know who the plaintiff. Usually I reach out to the plaintiff's lawyers too, and I'm like, and I'm like, hey, I'm on this case, open door policy. I don't know how to apologize on behalf of our client to the family.
Yeah.
Just let us know that here's my cell phone. Anything you need is this.
I almost always will reach out to the criminal lawyer.
Yeah, please do.
Because in my experience, some of the bigger insurance companies, their lawyers are so incompetent
Yeah.
that they will file their 4th request for a continuance. And, I've been asking for a deposition for 2 years. I've started, when I have a criminal lawyer representing one of the parties, I'll reach out to the criminal lawyer and say, I need to depose your client. I'm assuming you want to be present. We'll schedule it together, and then we'll let the insurance company know what day it's going to happen.
Yep.
Because usually a criminal lawyer, right, it's usually not, but it's really kind of half a dozen, 6 of one, half a dozen the other when it comes to the civil side.
I'm reading all their interrogatories, requests for production, requests for disclosure on what they're admitting. I'm going to different, and the motion to compel, I'm now showing up in civil court telling them, Judge, you can't compel this. I'm in the middle of this and I'm pushing this to trial.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just need a good defense attorney, but he'll work with you or work against you.
I had a different experience where
Really?
the criminal defense lawyer was a total jackass. And
What was his name?
it was so many years ago. It was before you were.
He's lying. He's lying.
It was long ago.
You know that?
I don't
He
remember
brought my
who it was.
age up trying to get around answering the question. You're way too young to remember
Long
that.
time ago.
Cogdell. It was Dan Cogdell.
No, but it did not that anything I did, it just didn't turn out well for them. So you need to have some good practical.
Well, I've had them also threaten us, and they're like, "Why doesn't your guy want to do the right thing?" I was like, "Because maybe he didn't do it, And then they start cocking off to me, and then we get off on the wrong foot,
With you? No.
Yeah.
You seem so even keeled, level-headed all the time.
I've always wondered that. Like, I've read some of the demand letters. I've read some, and they just who lets them write that?
Yeah.
I mean, short of profanity, just the threats and just the arrogance in some of these demand letters. That go to the client, of course, and I'll read it. I'll be like, "Who the fuck is this motherfucker?" Like I will go to your office in Austin. I will walk into your
My
office.
demand letters are really aggressive.
I will walk into your fucking office, and ask you by name. Like, don't. I read. I was like, I would never. Like when I was practicing with Mark, and Mark was, showing me the ropes, and when I was a young lawyer, we would, on occasion go into the civil courthouse, and just, seeing as a young lawyer the professionalism between district attorneys, sometimes the criminal defense lawyers, and the judge, and this whole kumbaya atmosphere. And then we go into the civil courthouse, and I'm with
Not
Mark,
civil to each other.
and they are going to almost to blows in the hallway over money. And here we are fighting for people's lives. But these guys in the civil courthouse, and just the arrogance and just like
That one right there.
And I'm kind of standing behind Mark like, what the fuck is going on here?
That's like the first time I went to the family courthouse.
It's like Peter always says.
Not cool.
2 fights, same day. I was like, oh, really? Family courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
each other
Family
all
courthouse is
physical
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Handcuffs on both.
Yeah.
Same day. That was the only day I was in law school.
In
I haven't been
response to
back- I have
what you
not been
said, Mark,
back.
I would just say, like as Peter says, mo money, mo problems.
Yeah.
So
You guys are lucky to only be fighting for people's freedom.
Right?
It's so much more stressful fighting over money
And their children. Yeah.
and children.
I tell Mark
and,
that all the time. And he actually came into the courthouse the other day.
Super formal. I was like, oh.
He was like, I couldn't even walk in the
Everybody
door.
had ties.
We don't do Front Page Friday.
No,
We have
yeah.
courthouse.
Please, nobody. Y'all wear
Walk
tracksuits?
through the bar and drop the keys off, and everybody was like looking. I was like, no, I'm not going to. I was like, this isn't fun. No.
but you guys are
Judge,
doing.
permission to enter the well. Like, You're just like afraid to
It's like
walk out.
denying.
Yeah, it's funny now how the courts with like the worst punishment, with the worst accusations you can be lodged against you sometimes as a defendant, and some of those craziest settings is the most calmest, nicest place in the world.
It's because y'all's bailiffs don't screw around. The civil
Yeah,
bailiffs.
no, y'all's bailiffs
are
cool compared to our. Yeah, but
Their
y'all have to
bailiffs
like.
are so,
Y'all got to snap
like,
into shape every
chill.
once in a while. People show up late,
They're
not
on
tuck shirts.
TikTok.
Yeah,
Can I walk-
ours are just.
Except that the 228th about 5 months ago went ahead and knocked a guy out because the defendant was beating up on a bailiff, and he was like 3 times less the size. I walked in like, what's going on? Yeah, I had to go.
Where?
Okay, yeah. Let's
The 228th.
let's not let this blow past. Okay, so Mark, you're in the 228 District Court. Where? Which county is that? Is that here?
Yes, Denise Bradley was sitting in for the late Judge Aguilar, who recently passed away.
Okay.
And there was a defendant twice my size
That's not possible.
Oh, huge
There's
guy.
no human twice your size. No.
Guy was probably 6'7",
Green Mile.
6'8", 400.
Okay, that guy.
Yeah, but muscle weighs way more than fat.
Office.
You're talking about like Yao Ming that lifts.
And God bless his heart, bailiff, Harris County Sheriff's Deputy was probably 5'2", maybe a young cat. And the problem I think in Harris County, unlike in Galveston, where I'm at, and this is why in Galveston they don't do this, is they wear their windbreakers. They wear the windbreakers, all the gear. The first thing this guy did when he was being remanded into custody by Judge Bradley was grab his windbreaker, yank it over his head, and the guy's
no.
And of course, my fear, everyone else's fear, I walked into this situation, so I saw a tussle because he was trying to leave the courtroom. And so as he was leaving the courtroom, I kind of walked right into it, was he might go for his gun.
Right.
And he was the only bailiff in there at the time. So I just jumped, knocked him out, jumped on the back, put him in a rear naked choke, kind of did some of Mark's little BJJ stuff. And as I got him in there and he's asleep, bailiff comes to his senses, pulls his taser out, tases him. I get a little bit of that.
Nice.
Oh, hey, he's still here. And
You love that kind of thing, though.
Yeah.
and then just took him out and brought him into the holdover. And of course, 2 seconds after that, like 30 bailiffs just stormed the place after it's all said and done. But
Did they buy you lunch or anything?
but for the most part, the Harris County bailiffs they keep them in check.
When I was in first year law student, I was in Vanessa Velasquez's court.
Great.
Had no idea that the panic button was under me. And I just hit it, and she has no idea. Nobody has any idea. And I mean, the cavalry comes in, guns blazing almost, and I'm like, and everybody's like, what happened? She's like, what? And they're like, an alarm went off. And as soon as they say that, I'm sitting there like,
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
I thought I heard a click. I played it off. I was like, what? No. Oh, it must have been like that the whole time. They were like, we know exactly when it went off. And I was like, that's on me, guys, but great response time.
Yeah.
Just testing you.
Yeah. It was like, I was like day 3 at the job, too. I was like just fresh out. I just bought my first real
Be a
suit.
DA?
No, I clerked for her court.
Oh.
And like just did all of her research and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She's not.
Maybe a defense attorney pulled out her cell phone or something in her court. That was probably what.
Oh, yeah.
She does. Remember, she would put your cell phone in the birdcage, and attorneys weren't allowed. And I'm like, I don't know how to schedule anything.
She was awesome. I like her.
She came to our wedding. She's
Her
awesome.
and I did a little bit with her and a little bit with Darren McSpadden. He's an older
a
guy.
legend.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
They let us push the panic button once over here to test it.
Just to make sure.
It's like one of the most fun days.
I agree. I mean,
Also,
I didn't
the-
realize I had that much power. Just right here. It was just right under me.
The level of fun at the appellate courthouse, though, is through the roof most days.
Can we walk in there
She
for a
said
round?
they have duels.
We duel.
Now, are they with
When I was
are they
at-
authentic pistols that you see on
It's
Paul
whatever
Stars?
you
And
have.
Swollen
panic buttons.
bones.
You just grab whatever you have.
The Challenger.
Yeah.
The Challenger Institutes, I think. They challenged institutes.
Somebody,
Quill.
when I was in baby judge school, we had a mentor describe it as it was like working in the library of a monastery.
That sounds so nice.
Coming from the CJC, it was a flip shame.
How long is baby judge school?
It's like 4 or 5 days.
Doesn't
I
seem
feel
like
it should
enough.
be a little bit longer.
It's not to teach you like it's like to kind of go over an overview of like procedure, administrative things.
I think that's what scares me.
How to be a judge.
Halloween's
What
next
teaches you how to be a judge?
Life experience.
See, we don't have that enough.
When was the last time you smelled the odor of marijuana in the appellate court?
She's stoned right now, man.
Yeah.
Because you remember in the criminal courthouse, everything smells
Oh,
like
it
weed.
does.
People are
Still
just
does.
high the whole time, and I'm like, they don't do that at the Court of Appeals.
Everything's sticky.
And it's usually the person
Yeah.
wearing the
No
marijuana
one
t-shirt.
pees in the elevator at the appellate court.
No?
The
No.
carpets are really plush.
Yeah.
Well, they have carpet to begin with.
I mean, I'll say this. I was up there last week, and it was renovated completely, 4 or 5 years ago? Maybe longer. It still smells like paint. Like, it's
Well,
nice.
they're
And they're redoing
Justice.
there was I think they had some damage during the barrel, so we
Yeah.
had scaffolding up for a couple weeks. They won't let me climb on it. I did ask.
Do you have to dress up to work every day? That's a real question.
I mean, to an extent, I don't wear a suit to work.
Like if you
every
just
day.
threw on some like sweats and a t-shirt,
I have rolled up there like in my mom gear before,
what's that?
like
Athleisure wear.
leggings and a t-shirt and a hat and tennis shoes, like we're going to a game. We're on our way like to or from some sort of sports game. My kid plays a lot of sports, and then they just kind of look at you, like they kind of do
Who's
a double
they?
take. The deputies look at you, like they
Yep.
check
And
your
do you look
ID.
at him and go, I'm
No, they usually
official
just
hearing.
laugh. They just usually just laugh.
They don't. I got to be honest. Those deputies, they have no idea who you guys are.
They do now. Well, they do.
She's been there
actually.
6 years.
I was up there last week, and they came into the courtroom, and they were like, "What are you doing here?" We're like, "We're here with Justice Kelly taking some photos," and they were like, "Okay," and they like looked around, and they saw a few people in suits, and then they left. And then like 30 minutes later, we walked out with knives. Like we hid our knives so that we wouldn't have to give up our knife. I didn't have a knife, but everybody else had a knife. They got their knives that they had hidden downstairs. We walked out the front door, and the deputy walked up to us and was like, "Hey, who's that guy you were with?" And I was like, "That's Justice Kelly." And he was like, "So you're not Justice Kelly?" And I'm like, I was like, "Me, no. The older guy, a little bit older guy in the suit." He was like, "Oh, that guy was Justice Kelly." And I was like, I feel super safe right now.
I used to have hide knives in the bushes.
And then he was like, "Okay." And then he left. And I was like, "Cool." The courtroom was open. Anyways, just saying, you're maybe not as safe as you think you are.
Yeah.
I want to ask a quick question
Well,
for
white
the
guys look the
Thiessen.
same. I mean,
That's exactly right.
I was gonna say I'm the only Asian.
You're the only Asian, right?
Ah, good
I
point.
think they may actually,
They might know you.
maybe, yeah.
Quick question for the Thiessen. So when y'all were here, y'all were breaking more into the civil side to complement your very renowned criminal and family law side. How is the civil side of it working?
I just went to TLU this weekend, drank from the fire hose, met like Mike Morris and Claggett and all these guys. We have 190 motor vehicle accidents right now, so I got to
Why
start.
does everybody keep meeting Mike Morris?
Mike Morris got a double mention.
King Detroit. He's a
He
buddy of
wrote
mine.
Fireproof, man. Like, I love Fireproof. I walked up and I'm like, "Dude, your book changed my life." He's like, "Do I know you?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Did anybody pay you to say this?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Who are you?" I was like,
Brian White said this 2 hours
I
ago.
gave him Fireproof. I gave Brian White Fireproof. But then I hung out with like Randy Sorrells there and went to dinner with him, and Sean Claggett's pulling. I mean, it's like your verdicts, you know, and these guys around the energy and like Panish and Paris, like just to see that energy, I was like, these guys are big, and like they're talking. And I learned about Fort Dyer while Mike, my civil partner from Allstate, he's working up all the cases. And so he's like, "Mark, I'll do all the depots and mediation. You're just coming in to try them." And I'm like, that's all I've ever wanted in
Where'd you
life.
find him? I'm looking for one of those.
Allstate.
Yeah.
We had him on the show, Mike Pita.
And
No,
his
I know,
wife.
but
Yeah, and Melanie too.
duh.
I saw him at Avalon Diner as we were coming out of church.
Yeah.
Jesus. You should try church sometimes. You can get something out of it.
I go once a week with my kiddo.
So you had to go over to a civil hearing, and that's when you saw this ugliness rear its head when
Well,
Kyle
you know,
was being.
remember, him and I worked at the revolving door of Brown Sims
Yeah.
back in the day with Amaro, and then the other guy that worked for Abraham Watkins was out at TLU. But so I used to see all this. So
You saw the dumb way to do it.
yeah, well, not that Brown Sims was a dumb way. I'm not going to throw them under the bus.
It probably was.
It was just a
I mean,
different
the way
way.
I was doing it at Brown Sims was dumb, but yeah.
There are many paths to the dumbest way.
Well, it's a different way. Different way from you, Kyle. Everyone
Now
does
I'm
things.
learning, but it's exciting.
Yeah,
We've
I
got
can't
case
believe it's been a
managers and
year.
intake, and yeah, I got 2 intake girls. I'm looking for a COO right now, and pre-lit and litigation side. So we're gonna go for it.
Awesome.
Okay,
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Mark
I'll
Metzger.
be there one day.
But you've got some civil cases also mostly down in Galveston.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have several. So.
Okay. And Halloween, this will post sometime around Halloween. You have any, Mark Metzger, you got any Halloween plans?
Yes, I will be pranking the Galveston County DA's office again this year
What are you going to do?
on Halloween. This year, I think, it's going to be 2 parts. So last year, I just parked the Michael Myers in the Barbie Blazer that we have there. So it was like a Michael Myers plus Barbie Blazer thing. I zip tied them to the rope bar, so they thought it was me the whole time standing in the back of the Blazer as they were driving into their parking lot right before court that day. And this time it's going to be something different. Probably add a murder scene to that, kind of like an Intox type man thing with where the Barbie Blazer has run over someone, and then after they're done, like what's going on there? Then there will be a secondary.
Incendiary?
Yeah.
Laser show,
Yeah.
fireworks.
Secondary
Yes,
with fire.
thing waiting for them behind the courthouse. Obviously, I'm going to figure out how to, without getting arrested.
Tannerite.
It'll be something similar to what I'm going to surprise the Thiessens with this Saturday night. But we'll see how good am I on stilts. That's going to be the
It's a lot easier than you think.
It's going to involve stilts.
Yeah, it's not as hard as you think. It's you're like a newborn deer for a few minutes, but then you catch on and you
They're the
can
drywall
jog
stilts.
pretty quick.
They're the drywall stilts.
Oh yeah, then you'll be
So-
good on that. That's only like that's probably like 3 feet. Yeah, get some 7-footers on. That's where it gets fun. Didn't play slow pitch softball.
wrong?
Final question for Mr. Metzger. The guy that you choked out and then was tased, would he catch an additional charge for that?
I think you got an additional charge for assault public servant on the bailiff.
I had a question. True or false? That was the first time you've been tased.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Did not think so.
Been tased myself.
Yeah, I figured that. That was why I asked the question.
All right. Well, Justice
This
Bourliot.
guy long enough at any CLE out of the city, you get to have a lot of fun.
Who was it? It was Cogdell that cattle prodded himself.
In trial, he was
Yeah.
a trial attorney that.
But he did it in the neck.
Yeah.
Did he say he had like a guy who could, had a cattle prod so vicious like you could light a cigar?
Yeah.
Off the flame.
And then he just popped himself in the neck
Because
mid-trial. He did say he practiced a couple days.
Because
though.
did Haynes do it first and like through his
No,
shoulder?
Haynes never did it. Cogdell did it.
There's someone
but
in front of
Haynes,
Cogdell.
the story
Yeah, somebody
developed
else
into
did it,
Haynes.
and he like freaked out and like dislocated his shoulder.
And so it was up to
and then they're like,
Cogdell.
"Go ahead, Cogdell," and he was like, "Yeah, this seems like a great idea."
It was like, after a while you just kind of get used to it.
Yeah, he said after the first couple of days you could keep your feet on you. I was like,
I'll be totally honest. We could do this podcast for another 10 years with only Cogdell as the guest, and it would probably be better.
we'd have way more listeners.
Yes,
If it-
way more listeners.
Or if he just replaced us.
Yeah, he could just talk about the Branch Davidians for a couple of afternoons. It's just the craziest career.
Well, I would say the same thing goes with everyone sitting at this table
True.
too.
My mother on his episode did say he when he curses, he has a reason to. I'm like, I do too, Mom. I do too.
You're like, shut the hell up, Yvonne.
I can never talk to her like that. She mainly because my mother still terrifies me. And still,
You know, she comments on like our TikToks and our YouTubes, and I respond to her comments like a good son would.
she is an app every Friday morning. She's listening to the new episode. And the last one, Kyle was like, we need Yvette to come on, and she can be the person that decides whether it needs to get cut out or not. And I was like, you do not want that, Kyle. He's like, why? I was like, she will cut out most of the stuff we say will be coming out. I was like, my mother does not have the sense of humor I do. But she's very
All right.
patient.
She's going to come on the show.
Yeah, she's waiting. As soon
Yeah.
as-
When's Mother's Day? Is that
May?
May.
Yeah. we
Okay.
should- yeah.
All right.
So we'll have Yvette on in May.
Let's do it.
Justice Bourliot, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
Best-
having us.
I hope no one, by no one I mean Bill or Kyle, said anything to offend you or today.
I was a public defender for most of my career. It's very, very hard to offend me.
Oh.
And I have a teenager.
Hang out.
Well,
for
they
the-
tried. They tried.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And Thiessen, thank you for coming. Mark Metzger, thanks for coming.
You guys
Always
awesome.
entertaining, excellent. We're gonna have Amanda has really tried to dial this thing up a little bit. She has like a costume contest. I don't know who's gonna vote. We told you
Instagram people.
Brian White was pretty solid,
Might be unbeatable.
I mean,
But-
he had moss growing up.
but I don't know.
Combo here,
Yeah,
and you touching Kyle's leg. I feel like we got a race.
yeah.
Talk through the mask really kind of won it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say did it for you.
Shouldn't I get to judge this?
The time through the mask.
No, you're a participant. You can't also be the judge. These are
Yeah.
the basic tenets of justice.
Recuse.
Wow.
And I'll close with this. Do you notice how Bill sat very far away from Mr. Metzger here?
Yeah,
Because last time,
they got he got
Touch my
touched.
mouth
yeah.
with his bare hand.
And that took 6 months of intense therapy before
Yeah.
Bill was able to come
Made
back
me-
on the
made
show.
me start to tingle in my places of sin.
All right. Well, thank you all for another Halloween edition of the Dirty Work podcast. Follow us on YouTube and watch us on YouTube because you've got to see these. This is a visual experience, this episode. Also, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and TikTok. Maybe Facebook if you're into that. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Happy Halloween.
Good night.
Best readout. You nailed that one.